Okay, this will be your video for part 2 of understanding a pattern. And again, we're still working on the 4123. For this particular item, it's the bed rest pillow. It's item number H. And if you'll notice, I've chosen, or I've laid out here the pattern. We're just going to use the lounge pillow H. I'm not doing really a contrast or the fleece in it. Not to confuse you at the moment, so let's just stay with the basics. So what you're going to see here is when you've got white fabric or whiteness in the background, that means that is the right side of the fabric. When you're seeing grayed, that means that's the inside of your fabric. If you'll notice along here, they folded it so that they could get that piece on a fold. And this is a single cut item here, and it's going up underneath this so that it will fit in there. So it looks like to me you've got 2 pieces or 3 pieces that'll be on the fold, 1 piece that will run the bias, which is the selvage edge of fabric. These are the cut ends that they cut at the cloth store. The selvage end is a end that is kind of thicker, or it could be ratty looking. I've got some fabric here I can pull out and show you right quick. That will kind of give you an idea of what the difference is. This is what typical selvage looks like. And if I can get in there real close, it's usually weaved thicker right in there too. So usually that means that the bias or the grain of the fabric runs the same direction as your selvage. Does that make sense? So this means fabric is created this way. So this will show you it doesn't usually stretch this way. On a material, sometimes you will either stretch going this way, and it does. See here? It has a stretch to it. Or it will stretch going diagonally, and this does both. This is kind of a duck type material, or a thin canvas. It's a little harder to tell on some fabrics, unless you've got your selvage in. It's a little harder to tell, and you have to kind of do the stretch test to know which direction is correct when you're laying out your pattern pieces. So with that being said, you've got your direction on each one of your pattern pieces. You're going to have the numbers that you're going to coordinate with the pages. Remember I said in part 1 that we needed pieces 21 through 27. So this here is 23. And if you'll please note that along this edge, it's like a single edge. That means this goes on the fold. See here? Center of fold. So that means there won't be a cut edge over here. This will actually fold out to be a really big piece once you get it cut. And if you look down through here, in most cases when you're sewing, your seam should be at 5/8 inch, and it should show you 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch on your machine right under your presser foot, and it'll give you those where to line your material up. It looks like, because this is a craft, they usually only use a 1/2 inch seam, and what these mean is this is where these lines need to intersect right here. And sometimes when I was younger and I was just learning to do patterns, I would take a hole punch and punch these out. And then when you get to that point on your fabric, I would take a fabric marker. It's not a crayon, but it's kind of like a chalkiness to it, and you just dot there so that when you're sewing, you know that's where you need to intersect 2 directions of your stitching. And you stop here and then kind of turn and go around. But basically this is what a piece looks like that is cut on the fold. Like I said, that has that single line through here like that. Now, if you look here on this piece, piece number 26, it has an arrow. Okay? What that arrow means, it needs to go the same direction as the biased. That means the same as those selvage edge, this piece needs to lay and go the same direction, because there should be no stretch in the facing. Okay? And on this one, it is a pocket, or the pouch, that's going to be on the pillow that will hold a remote or a tablet or a magazine. It'll fit either one. And this little dotted line here, this shows you what your stitch line. And it on some patterns it'll tell you, but not all of them do. It just depends on how the pattern is. They go a little more friendlier the newer they are, but I remember from years past, I've had patterns that didn't have any markings on them, and we'll get into that later, but the way you knew whether or not you connected two pieces together were by little triangles up in here. But again, this piece must run with the bias, so you would lay it, if the selvage edge is over here, you're going to lay this piece to go with it just like that. And again, here's another piece. Let's see here. Some are darker than the others. I don't know why they print some dark and some light. And this one, again, this way. So you don't want to turn it and do this way, or you're going to have stretch here. And that will cause, if you're doing a garment, it will cause it not to hang properly or hang crooked. But when you're doing a pillow, it will cause the pillow to twist. So you need to make sure that when you're cutting things out, you're following those arrows precisely so that you don't cut in the wrong direction. Now, a little bit, sometimes on pleats and things like that, you'll have these funny looking sections right here. And usually what you do is in your fold, once you cut this out like it is, the material will go together and you'll make a pleat. That makes it kind of do a curve around up here. So I usually try to dot those things so that I know how far up it's supposed to do a pleat. And again, if you'll see here, this is your seam line, but you've got a really wide seam line here. And this is where you're going to be attaching the base of the pillow that will be on, you know, it will get a little more stretch and pull and wear to it, so it probably just needs a wider seam allowance. So that's pretty much it on your part 2 of your pattern. Let me see here. On the like I said on here, the white is the outside, the blue or the gradient is the inside. Now basically, I use a product called Polyfill. I think Forrest has already took mine down. I'll do a video on it. But we'll be stuffing it with the Polyfill. Now, what you're wanting to do is to get to the part in the pattern instructions where it tells about how to put each thing together. This is all your pieces together, and then the cutting layouts. And then on this second piece is when it actually gets into putting together the lounge pillow. And it starts up here. Like, see, you've got a whole page of them, but those don't apply to you. So don't let them scare you when you see all the directions, because not all of them will be in the project that you're working on. You'll just come over here and you'll stitch out the first, section here and then here. One thing I really want to impress upon you, or there's going to be several, have your ironing board set up, because sometimes once you sew these stitches, it's great to go ahead and press those seams open and flat. It's easier when you start doing these curves to have those seams pressed. It just makes it a lot easier. And we'll get in on trimming those edges in another video. But that's pretty much how it is. Understanding the pattern, putting things together. Don't skip and go to another section until you've completed each instruction, because there's a method to this madness of putting them together. Now, one thing that I want to tell you that was told to me by my mom and my grandmother is to know the difference in regular scissors, pattern scissors, and cutting cloth scissors. These are a $100 pair of scissors. Yes, I bought a pair. I've had these scissors 25 years. Never have they had to be sharpened. You get what you pay for. You can get cheaper ones, but you got to make sure that you're not using them for anything but what they were purchased for. If you're cutting fabric, you need a really high grade pair of scissors, or else your hand will kill you. With my patterns, I use a smaller trim type of scissors, but those scissors never touch material. They only cut paper, which is for patterns only. I do not let other people use my scissors for crafts or anything else. My sewing scissors are my sewing scissors. Another thing that you might want to invest in, and it is an investment, is one of these roller wheels. This one is Olfa, and they run about 30 bucks. The blades on them are very, very expensive, and they will literally cut your finger off. But your hand won't cramp like it does with a pair of scissors when you're cutting. Now, Nichelle, there's one thing I don't know if you're right-handed or left-handed. These are right-handed scissors, which means they fit in my right hand and they angle like this. Now, and you'll see that there's more of a thickness on this side than on this side, and the rubber is made for a right hand. There are right hand and left hand scissors, so whichever one you're going to feel most comfortable with in cutting out, that's what you need to try them on before you buy them. And I highly recommend getting some with this rubber in here, or else you will get a blister. Protect your blades. Put a little machine oil or 3-in-1 oil, liquid wrench, any of those things on your blades when you're not in use, and shut them back. Keep these out of little hands because they will get hurt on them. But anyway, that's our video for this time. I hope you enjoy the videos. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Love you.